Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Natalia Vutova. I'm the head of the Council of Europe office in Georgia. Welcome to the press conference of the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Alain Berset, who is going to make a statement, and then the floor will be open for questions. Mr. Secretary General, the floor is yours.
So, dear media representatives, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining us at today's press conference, which will conclude my official visits to Georgia. I am joined on the stage by the Council of Europe's Director General of Democracy and Human Dignity, Maria Rotanen, and the Director General of Human Rights and Rule of Law, Gianluca Esposito, and they will be able to answer any technical question you may have. This is a critical time for Georgia. The country is filled with political tension, polarized public debates, and high level of violence. And I am here first and foremost to show my support to Georgia and Georgian people. They deserve to live in a stable and democratic country. As you know, Georgia is a full and valued member of the Council of Europe since over 25 years. And as Secretary General, it is not for me to legitimize the elections. This is the competence of state institutions. And in addition, I refer you to the reports of the election observation missions. With all that is happening in Georgia, it would be irresponsible for me as a Secretary General not to be here. Not to be here by the side of one of our member states, to stand with its people. And the main objective of my visit is to remind everyone that the current political crisis can only be resolved by standing by the fundamental principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. I would like to thank all those whom I met this week. I had frank, open, constructive discussions with everyone who agreed to meet me, civil society, organizations, the public defender, government and oppositions, as well as representatives of the international community in Tbilisi. And this was one of the key conditions of my visit, to see everyone. Dialogue is the cornerstone of any functioning democracy. Ahead of my visit, I welcomed the release of Nika Gvaramia and Aleko Elizashvili, and I met Mr. Elizashvili yesterday afternoon. Today, let me focus on three important issues. First, fundamental freedoms. Second, democracy. Third, recently adopted laws. First, about fundamental freedoms. During my meetings with the authorities, I made clear that fundamental freedoms, notably freedom of expression, media freedom, and freedom of assembly, as enshrined on the European Convention of Human Rights and interpreted by the European Court of Human Rights, must be fully protected. Violence from all sides is not acceptable, notably against demonstrators and journalists. The number of alerts sent to our platform to promote the protection of journalism and safety of journalists has significantly increased and shows, in some cases, brutal attacks against media professionals. I call upon the Georgian authorities to, first, refrain from disproportionate use of force. Second, rapidly carry out independent, transparent, and effective investigations and ensure that those responsible are held to account. And third, release all those subject to administrative detention. I welcome assurances I have received in those respects. On 18 to 29th of November this year, the Council of Europe Committee for the Prevention of Torture, CPT, visited Georgia. During the visit, the delegation examined the treatment and safeguards afforded to persons in police custody, including those detained during the ongoing public demonstrations in Tbilisi. Early next week, the CPT will share its preliminary findings with the authorities, and I expect the government to act upon them as soon as possible. A follow-up visit by the CPT may be carried out in the coming weeks. The second point I would like to raise is about democracy. Polarisation is undermining democratic debate in Georgia. All political forces, majority and oppositions alike, must assume the responsibilities to break this deadlock through dialogue and respect for democratic principles. Democracy cannot function in a climate of generalized mistrust and permanent confrontation. And we at the Council of Europe are available to facilitate this political dialogue, notably through confidence-building measures and parliamentary cooperation. And ultimately, however, it is for the Georgian people and the political leadership to do their part to create the conditions for a fully functional democracy with a healthy debate between political majority and minorities, as well as with civil society. My third and last point concerns recently adopted legislation. I expressed my concern about legislation that restricts the rights of civil society and individuals. Such legislation must be changed to comply fully with the European standards as defined by the European Convention on Human Rights and recalled by the Venice Commission. I welcome the government assurances to amend the legislation on so-called foreign influence. We will now set up a working group with Georgia and Council of Europe experts, notably the Venice Commission, to identify the changes that will be made to this legislation. I expressed the hope that similar cooperative processes could be set up in other areas such as equality and non-discrimination, civil society, electoral and justice reforms, as well as prison and probation. I'm also concerned by the incompatibility of the package of laws on the protection of family values and minors with our standards and case law of the Strasbourg Court. And in this regard, the Council of Europe has a very effective instrument. This instrument is our 2024 to 2027 action plan for Georgia. It was prepared by the Council of Europe and the Georgian authorities and adopted by the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe last October. And this plan is a key tool for supporting reforms and Georgia's European aspirations. We will continue to work with the Georgian people and authorities, civil society, as well as our national and international partners to adjust this plan to the realities on the ground. I call upon our donors to step up, not reduce, their support for this work. So, dear media representatives, let me sum up what will happen next. First, upon my return to Strasbourg, I will inform all our member states and our EU and other partners about the results of this visit. I will also share information with our Human Rights Commissioner, who intends to carry out a visit to Georgia soon. And finally, I will inform the Parliamentary Assembly rapporteur, who plan on visiting Georgia in January, as well as our Congress of local and regional authorities. Second, early next week, the CPT preliminary findings will be shared with the authorities. action needs to be taken by the authorities as soon as possible on these preliminary findings. A follow-up visit by the CBT may be carried out in the coming weeks. And third, as I mentioned before, we will set up a joint working group with Georgian counterparts to amend the so-called foreign influence law. Fourth, we will adjust our action plan to focus on the key priority areas, notably equality and non-discrimination, civil society, electoral and justice reforms, and prison and probation. So the media representatives, I spent the last 3 days in Georgia, in Tbilisi. I had the opportunity to meet everyone who agreed to meet with me in a constructive environment and without any hindrance. I wish to thank all those who contributed to the organization of my visits. Georgia's place remains in Europe. Georgia is a member of the Council of Europe. We will continue to accompany it on its democratic and European path. So thank you for your attention, and I'm ready now to answer any question you may have.
Thank you, Secretary General. So now I'm opening the floor for questions. Please make sure that you ask questions rather than make statements. Please introduce yourself and present the organization you're working for. And also the Director Generals might answer some of the questions. So please, let's start.
Hello, I'm Anna, journalist from TV Imedi. What message do you have from Georgia, and when are you planning to meet with the new president of Georgia, Mikhail Kavelashvili?
What I have for message you mentioned from Georgia, I think I was precise in my statement before what we did in the last days, and about the messages and the commitment we have, about the assurances we have, and maybe first of all the common work we will do to have an amendment to amend the law on foreign influence. That's the first point. About the meeting, we agreed to meet at a later stage, as the program was already quite intense for these 2 days.
You talked about attacks on journalists and whether this included the most serious insult, attacks, and obstruction of journalist activities by the demonstrators. Do you have any information about this?
Thank you very much. If I may reply, we have information indeed through the Council of Europe platform on safety and security of journalists, which receives alerts. So of course we are depending on these alerts to be made. But yes, indeed, we see an increase after the end of November in such cases, both physical assaults, but also harassment and other type of interference.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Salome Uertashvili, and if I may, I would like to ask my question in Georgian. I would be interested to hear from the Secretary General the following. Again, Salome Uertashvili, Rustavi 2 TV company. I would be interested to hear the opinion of the Secretary General. He spoke about legitimization, but during the meetings with the opposition, and I'm talking about the Nika Gvarami and Nika Meliev party, so they refused to attend the meeting, and actually they made a statement saying that the meetings of the Secretary General with the Speaker of the Parliament, Papuashvili, with the Prime Minister, etc. So may create certain vagueness with regard to the legitimization of the government. So what would you respond to that?
Thank you for this question. You know, I've been 3 full days in Georgia. Wednesday, the full day, Thursday, the full day, and 2 days, Friday, the full day. And I announced that I was ready to meet everybody, everyone. Now the actors must decide if they want to take this opportunity. I came here, you know, we are not meeting in Strasbourg, in Brussels, or other places. I came extra here to have the possibility, the easy possibility to meet everyone. I am not able to tell you what they should do, all actors. They have the possibility. They should decide if they wanted to see me or not. And I was very clear about what we are doing here. And it is important to recall that institutions must be also precise. The role of the Council of Europe is to do everything we can do to support democracy, rule of law, and the human rights. And we saw in the last, weeks that for the protection of human rights, to take this example, it is a concern. That's why we came. And that's why I took a position so precisely about the 3 days and about what we will do now to protect human rights, what we will do now with the assurances I welcomed before and I received for the next step, protecting the human rights, protecting the rule of law, democracy in the country, and doing this for the Georgian people. Georgian people are Europeans. Members, full members of the European family. And that's why it's so important to have the Council of Europe doing this. And I was fully open, you know, and really flexible during 3 days to meet everybody. And maybe you can ask to those not wanted to meet us why. It is a free decision. I have no problem with this, you know. It is important to have the opportunity to meet and then to do the best possible with those meetings.
Thank you.
Very well, welcome. Salome Gobronidze, and I represent Post TV, TV station. I would like to ask you a question about the police officers who, in fact, were affected and injured by protesters. Over 100 police officers have received injuries during the protest actions. Could you please comment on that?
It's quite difficult for me to comment on precise event. I think that's exactly why we need rule of law and stable institutions to address all the problems that we have. I was not taking part in manifestation, demonstration. I'm not able to make assessment, but what we can do is to bring also our competencies and our support to be sure that all violences and all elements are addressed in all directions. But it is really the role of the Georgian authorities to do this, and it is really important never to allow to see violence develop in impunity. It must be addressed in all possibilities that we have, and that's why we have institutions, and that's why we have laws, and that's why we have the Council of Europe always recalling the importance to have rule of law and to have justice and a just implementation of the laws.
Thank you. The gentleman behind.
Anton Kokaya, Radio for Europe, Radio Liberty. Mr. Secretary General, you had numerous meetings during your visit, and one of them was with Mr. Bidzina Ivanishvili, the honorary chairman of the ruling party. You posted on social networks after every single meeting that you had, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did many of them. Although you gave no statement at the meeting, who is arguably, the most influential man in Georgia, what was it like? What did you discuss? And, what's your comments about that meeting? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think we mentioned also in a post, a meeting with other meetings. It was in a post mentioned, and that's right. We had also a meeting together on Wednesday. It was about the same elements like in all other meetings. It is the situation in Georgia, the situation and the evolution in the last weeks and month, the importance to have Georgia in the European family, the commitment, is this just words or also facts for the reality, what it would mean for the next months and years, and also with the disponibility from our side, the Council of Europe, to work with all our member states and to work in this sense with Georgia also to implement this European path. It was a discussion, also a discussion on a geopolitical, larger context that we see at the moment. It was also part of the different discussions that we had in the last 4 days. That means the concern and the elements have been more or less the same. It is the Georgian situation in the region, in the world, and about the protection of human rights, rule of law, and democracy, because it is our main purpose for the Council of Europe, and it was with Mr. Ivanishvili also in this context that we had the exchange and the discussion.
Thank you. The gentleman with the casket, please.
Good evening, good afternoon, Mr. Bursa. It's Herakl Polarisashvili of Georgia today. The question is, yesterday, key opposition parties in Georgia criticized the lack of purpose of your visit. A French politician and MEP, Natalia Louançon, on social media, accused you of creating confusion with your visit in the middle of a very serious crisis in Georgia. How would you respond to those accusations? Thank you.
I think the word accusation is a bit brutal. I'm here in Georgia since 3 days to meet everybody. And I think it's the only right way to have the contacts and to try to find a way together what is the best thing to do. It would have been for me also quite easy to remain in my office in Strasbourg and to make, a statement on Georgia and to go in Christmas holidays. I decided to come, to spend 3 full days here. I mean, it's an important commitment, the first element, and the only one way to have really the possibility to see everyone. What would you say if I would tell, okay, I'm ready to meet everybody in Strasbourg? Then those who have the possibility to travel would meet me, and not the order. Coming here give the possibility to everyone to have the contact and the meeting. That's the first point. About the lack of purpose, sorry, but I totally disagree with this statement. Just one fact. The only fact that I go back in Strasbourg with the common commitment to work on the amendment on the law on foreign influence. Just this element, just forget the others if you want. Just this element is an important one, a very important one, I think, for Georgia, for the civil society in Georgia, and for the European path of Georgia. And other elements, to be here and to recall the necessity to refrain from the use of disproportionate force to disperse the protest. It makes a difference to say this here in front of the people and to say this from other parts. The second element about the gradual release of all those subjects to administrative detention, it makes a difference if we do this here, present in the country with all possible actors. The third element, carry out independent, transparent, and effective investigations on the incidents during the protest and ensure that those responsible are held to account. It makes a difference to say this here in front of the people and not from abroad. And the last point about the CPT, I was mentioning this before. And the next steps, with also the possible visit of the commissioners, the visit of the representatives of the assembly. It makes a difference being here. That means I have really no understanding for, this idea it would be a lack of purpose with this visit. If we stand firmly with Georgian people and with Georgia, it is not just about words. It is also about concrete facts. And to come and to stay here 3 full days is a fact.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Hi, Helena Bedwell, Bloomberg News. The best outcome of your visit, of course, is that what you just said, which many of my colleagues, I don't know why they ignored such a big step, but it's okay. So tell us about this amendment of the law, which was the outcome of the visit. Do we have any time frame? Do we have any time frame of that? Who will be from your side and from Georgian side? And will that be, of course? Thank you.
Just one first sentence for the answer, and then Gianluca Esposito will answer. I think we have the commitment now from today, and it is a starting point, and we will work on this. And concretely, maybe Gianluca.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Yes, as the Secretary General indicated, this is a very recent development. So obviously we need to now organize ourselves. What I can tell you from our side is that we are fully ready with our experts, in particular the experts from the Venice Commission, that will be very heavily involved, very actively involved in proposing very clear changes to this legislation. The Venice Commission opinion is public. We stand by that opinion, and we will make everything we can to make sure that any legislation of this type fully complies with the standards of the Council of Europe. We will, of course, have also discussions with our counterparts here in Georgia, and we will set up a joint working group to make those very, very precise changes. Thank you. I mean, it's today is the 20 December, right? So yeah, I can tell you in the coming weeks for sure. We are talking about weeks, not about years, of course.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please, yes, please.
Manana Devadze, Pirvelli. I would like to ask you a question about the working group. You said that it will be the experts of the Venice Commission who will be part of the working group, and who is going to represent the Georgian party in this working group? Will this be representatives of the legislative body or otherwise? And also, when the working group will start its work, and when this work will be completed, if it is possible to give us an approximate time frame. And one more question about the dialogue, because you mentioned the dialogue. You met all different actors, you met representatives of different parties, and after these meetings, what your assessment would be? Is there any resource for the dialogue, and will it be possible to initiate the dialogue in the nearest future? Thank you very much for your answer.
To the second part of your question, and for the first part you had some information before, and we will also give the floor again to Gianluca Esposito for answering, but just telling you that if we have the commitment that we will work on this and to amend the law, it is with all those who are the main actors of such a change on both parts, and also if the Venice Commission, but you will also tell this more later. In the 3 last days, you know, I had a lot of different meetings, and I've heard a lot of different things. It was one of the main purposes also of this meeting was to hear the people, you know, directly, not just to read a statement or to read announced on X, just to have the time to take the time together. And we had, with all those meetings, quite a long time. It was, for certain meetings, more than 1 hour. You know, it was not just we do just quick a meeting and then it's over. Really to take the time to deepen the discussion and all the elements. And what I take back from all those meetings, it is first clearly that we can feel at the moment, particularly at the moment, a lot of strong emotions. Fully normal and stable with this tense situation I described before. And the second element, I think, dialogue is quite easy to pretend, to call there is the need for dialogue. You need to have some conditions ready to have a dialogue and a good possibility to have the good dialogue. You need to have the trust between the actors. You must build this trust between the actors, and then you must create the conditions for the dialogue. What can we do in this respect? I think, you know, the main answer should come from the country. You know, you and all the actors in Georgia must be able to see this element and to try to develop the conditions to have dialogue. What can we do on our side? I mentioned before the action plan that we have for Georgia. And this action plan, you know, was recently adopted by the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe this year. It will help us to be at your side, at the side of Georgia, for the period 24 to 27. I think it is an important element, and it's quite sure that it must be possible in this context also to have and to take some measures, to develop some programs helping or supporting all the actors developing this dialogue. But you need to have the will to do this and to develop the conditions in the country. It is not possible to import the dialogue from outside. Surely not. And it's also a good point, by the way.
Maybe I can just add a little bit more to issues I've raised before. We, as I said, there will be from our side, there will be experts from the Venice Commission, not only, of course. This issue is relevant in the context of the execution of judgments of the European Court of Human Rights. So that is also another set of experts. And of course, we have some other experts in civil society issues and other matters. So we will have a very complete set of experts on our side. When it comes to the experts from the Georgian authorities side, it's of course for the Georgian authorities to decide. But we are looking for a very inclusive dialogue with the authorities, with partners, but also with civil society organizations who have, of course, a direct interest in this legislation. As I said before, we are the 20th of December today, right? We just completed our visit. We haven't actually finished all our meetings yet, so we will continue discussions, and I can give an indication of weeks, certainly not years. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady in pink, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Martha Bloshvili, and I represent the Bulletin News TV company. You stated that the clock will start ticking today. So we will be counting things starting from today. And it is for the Georgian dream to take steps already starting from today. You also mentioned the working group where the Venice Commission experts will be participating. We remember many cases where the Georgian authorities do criticize opinions of the Venice Commission, including concerning the law on foreign influence. And I'm interested to hear the following. Do you think that it will be possible for the Georgian Dream Party to honor its commitments and honor its promises? And do you think that it is realistic to expect that the law on foreign influence will be amended?
Yes, we expect that it will be amended. You know, I'm here 3 days with the whole delegation. It is not just a journey for holidays. We are working here quite hard during the 3 days, meeting everybody with the commitment at the end. We will work together with a working group in the next weeks to start the work to amend the law. And we have clearly the expectation that it will be amended. It's clear. But it's clear also that we have words, commitments, and then we need to see facts. It's also clear. But you know, we will need some time to work. You know, you want us to start this afternoon with the working group. But after the commitment, we need also to see when the experts are available also on our side. They work a lot, you know, and it is exactly now the period where they start also for, maybe 1 week or 10 days free with their families, with the Christmas holidays. You know, it's not a question. Also about the Venice Commission. It's not possible to order the Venice Commission to come the next day and to start the work. We will organize this. It is about weeks and not years. Weeks till month, because we need also to work with the high level of quality to do this, but it must move. We will have some movement in this respect from now. And the first movement is to have the commitment. It's the first time we have such a clear commitment. We agreed to do this together, and we will work on this with all our experts, all our expertise, and we expect clearly that in few weeks we will be able to start concretely with all the actors at the table to start with the work.
Please.
Rusudan Dumbadze represent the TV Pirveli TV station. In fact, many different questions have been asked, and you also mentioned the meeting with Mr. Bidzina Ivanishvili. But you know, I really feel that I lack something, and we would be interested to hear a little bit more about the meeting with Bidzina Ivanishvili. Bidzina Ivanishvili is a political figure who we meet very rarely, if at all, and we do not have any answers from him. So you mentioned that there will be release of those who are under administrative arrest. Has Bidzina Ivanishvili agreed to that? What does he think about the violence that has been exerted during the demonstrations? What was his opinion? What was his assessment of the facts?
What I can tell you it is that when we discuss about, for example, this working group on the amendment of the law, it was discussed with officials of the government acting now in their roles as officials, and the same thing for all the implementation of different elements I mentioned before about the message we pass and the assurances we heard about this. I think it's important to recall that everybody must also play their own role. I'm playing here the role because it is my role as SG of the Council of Europe. I have here two Director General acting here as a Director General and not something else or somebody else. And it is also important to see all institutions for what they are. That means concretely precise that all the elements I discussed with the commitments I've had, it was with the government at the end. After having all the discussions with everybody, it was important for me, and it was really necessary condition for the visit to have the possibility to stay long enough to see everybody agreeing to meet me. I did this, and then at the end we had the discussion with the government to say, okay, we will do this and this and this and this. And I think I can also communicate you, I was not negotiating those elements with Mr. Ivanishvili, because I think it is not his role, if I may, with all respect. I think it must be done in the right places. And about the discussion that we had, I gave some information before about the main topics that we discussed together.
Thank you. Yes, the gentleman, please.
I'm Bashir Kitachev from Deutsche Welle, and did the representatives of the authorities agree to cooperate and talk with you? And could you please share the results of this meeting? Thank you.
Für die Deutsche Welle, ich würde das fast auf Deutsch machen, aber ich würde es lieber auf Englisch. It was a German because it was the German TV asking. Sorry. No. About your question, but no, I forgot the question. Sorry. Oh yeah, for the cooperation. I mentioned before that we have with the Council of Europe 46 member states. Georgia is a member state since more than 25 years, and we must never forget that the country is a member. It is not a government or a group of persons. The country is, as a country, member of the Council of Europe. That's the first point. The second point, being member of the Council of Europe is linked with obligations. The Council of Europe is not a well-being club. The Council of Europe is not a spa. The Council of Europe is an organization dedicated to democracy, rule of law, and human rights. And concretely, it means to respect all the texts that we have together. And first of all, the convention, the European Convention on Human Rights. And we have a lot of obligations while coming from this convention and from all the texts that Georgia, as a member, signed and ratified. And in this context, as a member state, it is clear that we expect a full collaboration on all those elements. And I have the element that I have, it is that, yes, it will be a good collaboration and a full collaboration in this respect. That's why we had the end of November, the visit of the CPT. That's why we will have now the first preliminary reports about the findings of the CPT, and that's why we expect that it will be implemented. They will address this. That will better the situation, and that's why we expect clearly that if we agree to work together on amendment for the law on the foreign influence, it will be implemented because Georgia is a member. You know what I mean? And we expect that the collaboration will be good. It was also one of the reasons for my visit in the last 3 days here. to have a full commitment. It is not possible to do everything per phone or just writing emails. You need to see the people. You need to have the contact. You need to have the. We are all human beings, and we need to have the physical contact to see each other and to see the diversity of the people, to see the diversity of the roles and what we have here, and then to have the commitment to make some steps forward together. That means, at the end, yes, we expect that it will be a full collaboration, and I have no reason to think that it will be not the case, and we will address this in a kind of strong, active work together in the next month. Because one more time, the Council of Europe has a specific and particular relation with Georgia. That means the relation that Georgia is one of the 46 member states of this organization.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Natiecki Purishvili, I represent the Net Gazette. You said that you agreed with the Georgian Dream government that the law will be amended, and the independent media and non-governmental organizations refer to this law as Russian law. You also met representatives of civil society organizations, and I'm interested to know the meeting with whom prompted you to discuss with the government the possible amendments to the law, because for months we, the representatives of the civil society and media organizations, were requesting and demanding the cancellation of the law. We know that there are very many people who were apprehended during the protest actions, and actually they need to be released. And I'm interested to know whether or not you received any pledges and promises that these people will be released, including promises from Mr. Bidzina Ivanishvili.
Thank you very much. Again, just respond on the point about the legislation. Look, this issue with this legislation is not new. The Venice Commission has issued its recommendation quite some time ago. So we're not discovering something today. This is a long-standing issue. And just to answer also in relation to a previous question, the fact that people criticize the Venice Commission, well, it's not a big issue. It's normal that there are criticisms, but it's also at the same time normal that we make our points and we advocate for changes, and we expect those changes to be made. So the fact that the Georgia is a member state, as the Secretary General indicated, is a key element here, and this is a process that will involve as many actors as possible, and we intend to make those changes, as I said, in the coming weeks and months from today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, one last question. Okay, please.
So once again, I must ask you the question, which I truly was interested to ask you. Usually the chair of the party is the person who a person of your official status should meet, but instead you met honorary chair of the Georgian Dream Party, which raises questions. Was it the Georgian Dream and Mr. Ivanishvili which showed interest to meet you instead of Mr. Garibashvili, who is officially the chair of the party, or was it you who were interested to meet Mr. Ivanishvili? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think you're right. We have an organization of the political society, organizations, parties, with president, with member of the parliament, not member of parliament, or other tasks. At the end, it is also important to meet all the people who have something to tell and all the people who have some influence. And I think it is out of question that Mr. Ivanishvili seems to have influence in the country and the different stages, and that's why it was important to meet him without to assess the exact role or title in the party, honorary or not. It's not a question I was asking myself. And the second element, I can recall that you had. And we all heard about the exchange between the President Macron and Mr. Ivanishvili in the last days. I think it was also an important contact. It was for me thus being present, also possible to have contact with all actors, including Mr. Ivanishvili. And it's quite pragmatic, you know. I think if we try to make steps forward in this quite complicated situation for the country, with all the climate I described before, violences, demonstration, and all those elements, it is important to speak with everybody, and to be also open, not too blocked on the titles and who at exactly which position to make steps forward. And well, I think the phone call between President Macron and Mr. Ivanishvili was well known. The contact I had, it was also an important moment, but also with like all other actors I had the possibility to meet in the last 3 days.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you so very much for coming. Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you.
Thank you.